I didn't have that as part of my kit. Now it's in my kit.
I think knowledge is power. Are these things that normal people should be able to do?
People always ask why we're so passionate about wheel nuts.
I carry a bit of everything, and I don't just carry for myself.
And you say, boys, check your nuts.
Yes, correct.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Off Grid Down Under podcast presented by MDC. We've got another fun session today. I'm sitting here with Vaughan, Director of MDC.
Thanks for having me again, Sam.
Also here with Anya from MDC from As Seen on TV. And Mr. Mark Banks from Beach to Bush.
Thanks, Sam.
Welcome.
Nice to be here.
Welcome everybody here today. Exciting times. We've got an interesting topic to talk about today. We've had essentially a document circulating online for a few months now, which has been really successful, and it's about travelling off-grid. It's a bit of a how-to guide for people that haven't had any experience in off-grid travel, and from our point of view, we want to make sure people are educated and understand what they need to do to be prepared to travel and escape with confidence when they do travel off-grid. We specialise in off-grid and off-road trailers, camper vans, hybrids, caravans. We want to show people how to get out there and actually use them to their full potential. So that's the purpose of the podcast today.
Cool.
So, Vaughan, Anya, you guys have done a lot of off-grid travel, and so has Banksy. Banksy's kind of our off-grid specialist, we might describe in some words. But we're going to kind of keep it high level at the moment and start off with some pretty simple questions. What is it that we enjoy about off-grid or remote travel? Banksy.
For me, it's the actual journey to get to where you're going. So that journey could be a beach drive, could be a bit of bitumen that you're driving for a while, and then all of a sudden there's this lovely dirt track that takes you out to the middle of something that is spectacular. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's always getting to where you're going and just being prepared to make sure you've got to do adjustments as you go.
Is that because you're going to locations that you wouldn't have been able to get to otherwise, and you've got to take a real off-the-beaten-track path? Definitely.
So back in my earlier days when I had a different van, which was an on-road van, when I planned my trip around Australia, I had to really adjust to I couldn't quite get to the places I wanted to go to. And then since I've been into MDC vans, I've been then picking off those places that I couldn't get to.
Great. Anya, you've entered the world of caravanning and off-road caravanning, a bit of a baptism of fire.
Yes, absolutely.
You've been on a lot of the trips that MDC have done, especially in the last few years. What's the appeal to you?
I guess similar to what Banksy was saying is finding these little destinations that you wouldn't ever know that was on the map. We've been to, like along the Alice Springs trip, finding these remote stations that we stayed on for the night. I guess just the mystery of where you can end up. I just love going and finding out where you're going to go. I'm not sure how, but you're going to get there.
You're going to get there. You might find something you've never seen before, or what's around the next corner.
And just the beauty of the place. Like there's some places that you think this place has got to be flat, no mountains, and then you find these amazing red-coloured canyons, and so just the beauty of places that you just didn't know existed.
I discovered that last year myself, heading up north towards the Cape, just how much hilly countryside and the mountainous terrain between Brisbane and Cairns. I really underestimated how hilly it was through that area.
And how far.
Yeah, distance. I knew the distance was a lot, but no, the vegetation and the geology around there was just incredible. What about you, Vaughan? What draws you to off-grid remote travel?
Sam, for me, it's about getting out of the office, and so being able to get into a pair of shorts and a pair of thongs, and it's just, as soon as you're in that attire, it's just relaxing, but still being able to contribute to MDC and what we do. Also, just being able to relax. So when I get into that sort of, the thongs and the shorts, it's just a different demeanour from me. It's just relaxation, really. So I don't really care where we go, as long as we're getting out of the office.
As long as you're in shorts and thongs.
That's it. I'm happy.
That's all that matters. Yeah, it puts you in a different mindset. That's for
thongs,
sure.
not Crocs.
From my
From
my point of view, I think it's about getting out there and appreciating nature for what it is, but it also makes me appreciate the home life. where you come back home and you've got hot running water on tap, you've got an abundant electricity, all those things that you can easily take for granted. It's when you go out remote, you can still do those things, but it just makes it a lot easier. It makes you appreciate what you do have. So
awesome.
that's what appeals to me. So before we head off on a remote adventure somewhere, what are some of the considerations that we think about? Just Banksy, you've got a pretty well-equipped truck and you've done a lot. What are the things that go through your head?
So for me, it's prep. So prepping, actually setting your van up before you go. So, a couple of days beforehand, I don't leave it till the day or so before, but I do all my prep a couple of days out. So fridges are up and running to temp. If I'm doing portable fridges, that's all into place. And then I look at the trip I'm doing. So if I'm out west, I just make sure I take a few more things with me in spare parts. Definitely from when we just did the Cape trip there, carry an extra filter with you is godsend. Just makes the truck breathe better fuel economy, that sort of stuff. And then I allowed for what's in the group, because I travel a lot with people that are either doing tag-alongs or friends bringing family. So then I have a quick look at what they've got in their vehicle or what van they have, and then I might carry some different spares to get them across the line as well.
Sure. Vaughan, in your experiences, what's been some of the considerations you do prior to trip planning?
I think much the same as Mark, is like where you're going, and then packing according to that trip. One question I did have for Mark is, when you're going out west in the middle of Australia, right? We're going to the Big Red Bash next year, and then we're going to continue on with another trip. What are the essential spare parts that you must take?
So we'll do vehicle first. So you definitely got to have all your belts. So if you've got an alternator or air conditioning belt, you've got to make sure you have that with you. Air filter is a must, especially if you're travelling out west and you hit a water crossing too hard or a river crossing, and then that puts water into your snorkel or into your airbox, and then that causes you grief. Having a spare one there solves that issue. And then specific to your vehicle. So my truck has two fuel filters down on the side of the body. They are prone to getting little cracks in the plastic melting on the bottom, so I carry a spare canister and an actual spare glass container to go underneath. Because if without that, I could lose 50, 60 litres of fuel, and that's not a good thing. So you've got to have that with you.
I have the big Y62 Patrol, right, that when I'm towing, I'm very efficient. I'm getting about 30 litres per 100. So a consideration, it's got big 35s on it, exhaust, etc. Consideration for me is fuel stops.
Absolutely.
And how much fuel extra I need to take, and particularly when towing.
So for every trip that you've been along with Vaughan, I always add in the Vaughan factor.
Thanks, Mark.
It's around that 320k mark. So I calculate, even when we come up through Idaminka across to Batuta, that your car will need a top-up all the way along, and even us putting in full or jerry cans, I carry that a little extra so that we can cater for you.
Much appreciated, as long as it's not diesel.
No, it's not diesel.
I guess that's something that sits in my preparation plan too, is fuel stops. Again, I run petrol cars too, and diesel still applies. It's where are my next fuel stops going to be and how reliable are they? I pulled up at Tilpa Pub on a family trip a couple of years ago. You expected there to be fuel. I was carrying 40 litres with me because it's such a long gap between Broken Hill, Burke, and ultimately Wilcannia, I think, is the next stop after that. And towing a trailer, all those types of things. We got to Tilpa and it was empty, and they weren't getting fuel for another 4 days. So I was pretty happy I had some spare fuel with me. It got me at least to the next point.
Or it's a stop at Tilpa.
Yeah, for 4 days. Yeah. There's not a lot to do in Tilpa besides sit at the pub and in 40-degree heat with flies galore.
Well, you saw last year people going to Birdsville, they got stopped at Windora for 8 hours to a day due to fuels running out. But if they stopped in the small town just before there, they could have done a top-up and they might about stretch their legs all the way to Birdsville, which would be far better result than sitting there for a day and a half.
Yeah, there's little thought processes, right? Ask people, get on forums. What about you, Anya? You're going away for 2 or 3 weeks at a time off grid. What are the considerations you have in your trip plan?
For tools or
no, for anything. What about for you? For a lady that's going along for a travel that's out there to have a good
we
time?
always plan.
Tell the truth, Anya.
Okay, so we always say we're going to pack in a week in advance, make sure we've got everything ready to go. It's always the night before that we're getting things ready, stocking up the fridge, putting in the hot drinks, which Banksy would not like at all.
No good. I'm power, so that's all right.
I'm more in charge of inside the van, so I'm making sure that we've got all the soap, all the towels, the food, whereas Vaughan, he's got an array of, not Vivor, I'm not sure what brand bags they are with all the different tools and stuff.
A brand we can't talk about on this podcast.
With many different tools that I think, do we actually need all these? But there have been occasions where we have needed them. I don't know what's in there, but there's been times where he's rummaging through going, I know I've got it here somewhere, and we find it. So Vaughan's in charge of all the tools. The only tool I know is the torque wrench. I've used that a couple of times.
Oh, there you go.
And the air, letting the air down. Yeah.
Perfect. The tire deflators. Hey, that's all that matters.
I think Mark was referring to the vacuum.
No, I was actually referring to the UB port.
USB port. We'll get to some of those tools in a minute, but I guess...
I think just before we go there, some of Anya's real prep is hairdresser.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Google.
Definitely.
Googling hairdresser near me.
And if it's not a hairdresser in town where we're leaving from, it's along the way, where can she get a hair done? So that's one of her very important planning preps.
That's good. So there's a good hairdresser at Roma.
Warhope.
Warhope?
Interesting-
Okay, yeah. Okay,
interesting,
where are your top hairdresser
experiences.
locations that you've visited?
Definitely Bali has been one.
Bali.
But
We don't do a lot of caravan
No,
in
I know.
Bali. That's all right.
It had a bar in the middle. No, the hairdresser, definitely Warhope was an experience. Where else have I been? Vic High Country. Went to one down there. Cairns.
Okay, we'll add them to
Everywhere.
we'll add them to the handbook. We'll add
Yeah.
like a hairdresser section to the off
Definitely,
handbook.
yeah.
Perfect.
I'll add it to my tool notes to come up with something.
Perfect.
Go to the back of the truck.
So, look, what are some of the common issues that we see when people are travelling and towing? And it could be, I guess, vehicle or van related. And I guess what leads to some of those issues that people might come across when they're travelling? I mean, from my point of view, things like tyre pressures always result in blowouts, things like that. It's not relating to any particular brand of caravan or tyre that you're using. It's the principle of how you're actually using the product itself. Suspension systems over time can show signs of fatigue if they're not maintained. What are some of the things that you see a bit of, Banksy? You run the tag along tours.
Yeah.
What are the things you talk about?
So mine is all about keeping that intermediate service done. So for people that are going away is on every caravan or even on cars, you have greasable nipples that you can do drive shafts with, you can do tow hitches, trailing arms, you can pull wheels off and make sure the bearings inside the grease looks fresh inside.
What's the benefit of greasing those points and making sure they are greased sort of prior to departure and things
So
like that?
all that just helps your suspension and your bushes staying top nick. Because you might have done a trip to Fraser and you picked up all this sand, water, moisture will drag that sand into the bush, and then by you then continue to driving, it'll slowly wear that bush out.
Yeah.
So by pumping fresh grease in, pushes that all out again, and you've got a new start point.
So the bushings that we're talking about are the poly blocks that sit in the metal frame that
Yes.
the suspension arms are pinned into ultimately. So if you can keep those in good condition, you're going to reduce the play on that pivot point.
Which then
and
saves
as
the
soon as
maintenance.
that starts to move, it exaggerates very quickly
Yeah.
from there.
And same as drive shafts. So your drive shafts, they actually go in and out like that on a drive shaft. So you can fill that up so that the grease then is when it goes up there, it's all lubricated. So it saves wearing out the drive teeth inside them.
Yeah. So Vaughan, those grease nipples, especially on the trailing arms on the suspension, on the MDC systems, there's something unique about those. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I'm happy to if you give me a tip.
What I'm referring to is a little collar that sits around the grease nipple.
yes,
That's
yes.
actually quite unique to our design. So it actually is designed to protect that
Yes.
nipple.
So the position of the nipple is in a place that is going to have rocks hit it.
Yeah.
Right. And
It's
you get
forward facing. It cops
Yeah.
everything from the car in front underneath.
and it
all
has
that.
to be there because it has to be accessible. So you can't have it underneath because it's the lowest point. It's going to get torn off. It's got to be, you can't be on top because you won't be able to get the grease gun into it. But it's at the front. So what we do is we have a little orange collar that we weld onto the swing arm, that actually protects that nipple somewhat.
It's like a little buffer. It's a little steel buffer.
Yeah, when you're driving down a dirt road, you're flicking up rocks at 100 kilometres per hour. Imagine that rock hitting you. It's consistently rocks hitting that swing arm.
Yeah.
So that's like a little protection thing that soon we'll see on everyone's competitor models, no doubt, now that we've drawn attention to it. So thank you, Sam. It's like an anti-marketing.
Yeah, an anti-marketing marketer. That's me.
That's it.
So I guess one of the other common things that people experience, especially when towing, it could be a camper trailer, a caravan, or whatever, in my experience and for what I've seen, is bearings. So tell us a bit about bearing maintenance and pre-trip checks around what's important and why it's important to check those.
So with a bearing in your MDC vans, you come with a seal so you can do an inspection. So you can undo the nut, pull the wheel off of the drum, and you'll be able to then replace that seal. It's important, especially on the back bearing, that you haven't got water seepage. So that comes about from you're driving along, and if you've been driving for a couple of hours, you hit a creek, that will cause it to cool down quickly, which then causes a vacuum, which will then draw that water into the back of the bearing. So you'll see a discoloration. So I use either blue or red grease, so it's quite visible. You'll be able to see the discoloration on the back of that grease, and you'll know then that, okay, I've got to change that out. When it's really bad, that moisture goes into the bearing, and you'll see like a browning effect on the outside and inside, and that means it's time to, if it's not within times, it's time to change them out.
What's causing that though? So what causes the bearing failure ultimately?
So the water gets in there, and then that then breaks down the grease. So therefore, as the grease is going around, it goes to like this milky colour. Then the bearings then aren't getting lubricated properly, which then they heat up.
Yep.
Once they start to heat up, they do what they can do, spinning on the shaft itself, or in the cone, it starts to lock up.
Yeah.
So once that happens, you're in
They
serious
just
problems.
Disintegrate. The
Yep.
frame around the bearing will
Fall
deteriorate,
apart
break
real quick.
down, fall apart, and then the wheels
Yeah.
just sit on the
We're
outside.
very fortunate though with the MDC vans that it's got a parallel bearing. So in the old days when you had the larger and then the cone bearing down the bottom, which was smaller, you had more problems with those sort of setups. Where now with the equal size bearing, it just shares that load better.
Yeah, and we use Timken bearings on ours. That's a big choice made by sort of Vaughan and the development team. We use a Timken bearing, which is a high quality bearing. We still state when you pick up the van, you have to tighten them after 50 k's, 100 k's. There is a sort of a service interval, and that's the bedding in of the bearing, right? But you will notice you will still get a little bit of movement. You tighten it up, lock up the bearing a bit more. And once it's actually bedded in, it'll sit beautifully.
And that's where carrying a temperature gun as well. But I do the same. When I pull out, you go along and just touch the hub, and you can tell if there's an issue.
Yeah, and you can feel the heat. And so, for instance, my particular van has 4 wheels. And so if one wheel is heated, we know it's a problem just with that. But if all 4 wheels were heated, then you know it's a brake controller issue or something in the electrics.
Something else causing it, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So that sort of is a good segue into pre-trip checks. I guess, what are some of the pre-trip checks that you do, Vaughan, on the van before you take off?
I don't want to steal Anya's thunder.
Okay, Anya.
Do you want to go first?
I love checking the nuts.
Do you?
So that's, I do enjoy doing that part of it. At least I can contribute somewhat.
Yep.
Apart from that, I don't think I do anything else that's helpful.
Yeah, so checks before a trip is lights, are they working? Brake lights, tail lights, indicator left, indicator right. So you know that there's a connection to your vehicle. Check all the chains. Are they crossed? Are they actually connected? The DO35, the cap on the top, you can't physically put that cap on if the hitch isn't connected
locked.
to the vehicle.
Correct.
Your plugs, so your 12-pin plug and your Anderson, make sure they're in. When I'm going on a serious off-road trip, and Banksy asked me the other day, what's with all these zip ties around the back? I actually put zip ties around the Anderson plug and the 12-volt plug, so that's impossible for them to come out, because quite often those Anderson plugs can come out, drag along the ground, and
Yeah, I've had that happen.
Yep.
It's probably one of the biggest things that I've fixed at Birdsville. I think there was one year there where I probably did 8 Anderson plugs from just different people I met. That problem that came out, it all got destroyed. On one of them was that bad, we had to actually do rewiring as well, because it pulled back under the van and just ripped them into pieces.
I also charge the battery system.
Yep.
Make sure everything's working. I will run all the gas appliances and the diesel heater as well.
Okay.
So make sure
they're
everything's
functioning.
functional. The last thing that I check is as I'm driving out the driveway is the brakes, that they're set up correctly for what I want, for where I'm going to be going, or because sometimes we're changing vehicles, right? And so I could be in a different car that's set up for a different trailer or caravan, and so that's the final check before we get going.
And also check other people's work. So we had the patrol in for a service before our last trip, and thankfully we're only towing to Caboolture showroom, and Vaughan's in front of me and he's saying, does my van look wobbly? And we noticed the back wheel of the patrol was hanging on by, one?
3 lugs out of 6.
Yeah.
And so we had the vehicle in there to something to do with the back left wheel, and so they had to take it off and put it on during a service. And we were just towing about 40 kilometres, and in that space, 3 wheel nuts on the actual vehicle broke. And it was a really bad wobble.
Oh,
and where we pulled up was just around the corner from a Repco. I'm the luckiest guy in the world, right?
Yeah.
Anything happens to me, I'm around the corner from Repco.
we never thought of checking.
Well, you
when
wouldn't think.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like you might get the apprentice that's working on your car and just hasn't finished doing something.
I mean, look, with remote travel, that's one of the things that does come up. It's, check your wheel nuts every day. And it's not just on the vehicle, but it's on the trailer and stuff like that too. One of the things I do before I head off, and mainly because I maintain my own trailer and things like that, is I will jack up each side, check the bearings, just grab the wheel, give it that little shake at 3 and 9 o'clock and 12 and 6 o'clock. If I feel any movement there, I'll pull it off, inspect the bearing, and put it back on, or just tighten it up a notch if it needs it. They're one of the things that I really notice. I also try and check the amperage to see how is the charger charging at the rate that it should be. Make sure the DC-DC chargers are working as they should be, or they're programmed to be doing what they should be. Some of them do require like a manual setup.
And now you've got the app. It's so much
so
easier
easy to check.
Yeah,
right?
you plug in, start the car. Now sometimes the charge won't come straight through because the alternator's going, I'll look after the starter battery first.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden it'll flick over
It'll
to
kick
that.
in.
And then you'll see the charge going through. Once you see that charge coming through, you know it's sweet.
Yeah. Banksy, any other suggestions from your point of view, pre-trip checks that you would consider?
If you've had your wheels off, for sure, and you've done a brake adjustment, go take the van for a drive, and it doesn't hurt. Just 15k down the road, go around, do emergency braking procedure somewhere where it's safe.
Yep.
Come back and then recheck that your temperature and everything's all right.
Yep.
You'll soon see if you've done it up too much, because there'll be the heat in the drum there, or when you go do the brake check, there's just that bit of a lag. And if you do the adjustment of the controller, then that, no, I need to go up another notch.
The other thing I'd consider checking is tyre age as well. Tyre age if you've had a van sitting around for a while, or just tyre condition if you've done a lot of off-roading as well. Chips, little scuffs out of the side walls can easily be deeper than what you think. And if you're running them at high pressures, or the heat temperatures get up in them, and they can really strain those weak points. So it's important just to do a visual inspection on the tyres and swap them out before you hit the road. Last thing
On my bigger trips, like when you're doing 10,000 Ks and that sort of stuff, I actually make sure the vehicle gets tyre rotation. You put it through, so what you've got is your best offering. So up front, normally your steer tyres are your best, and then you work your way back from there. And then I'm fortunate I can get to carry 2 tyres for the truck.
Nice.
Very hard to get those tyres, so that's why I do carry that.
Spares. So what are some of does anybody get an exciting story? I've got one, but we've gone to pull the van out, ready to hit the road, and you do a quick little check and you find something that was just about disaster. Have you come across that?
Yeah, on the truck, the drop down on the cabs are whale tails, they call them. So they're a little device that when you turn the handle, the bar drops down, locks into position. We'd just done a trip out to somewhere out near Winton Way, and all of the screws internally had all vibrated loose.
Right.
So the actual fridge slide compartment, when I shut it up, only was hanging on by a needle.
Wow.
So I would have gone down the road, turned the corner, and that door would have flung open. And on another time it has done that, and the 2 tables that I have above my fridge come flying out across the traffic. Lucky for me, there was no one on the roadside
Wow.
because those tables hit the ground, slid, hit the gutter, did a big cartwheel up in the air. Very frightening.
Wow.
So,
How did you discover that?
oh,
How did you discover the problem?
just by when I went to lock it, I went, oh, it's not that pull-in feeling you get when you do the doors up on
You
your...
noticed something was a little bit different.
It was too easy. It didn't quite line up. And when I went around and checked it, I went, oh my God. So on the truck, there would be 2, 4, 6. So there would be 12 of those. And when I went around, out of the 12, there was only one.
These
that
are the
was
big
actually-
lever latches on the canopy doors that fold down and hold everything in there, yeah.
So now I use the thread lock on them all the time, and it's something I built into my yearly.
Yeah.
And then if I'm doing a big trip, like we just did the Cape, I then did it again,
Yeah, right.
just to make sure.
What about you, Vaughan or Anya? Anything you guys have discovered?
Yes, on our last MDC muster,
Yeah?
and it was absolutely not my fault. But we drove off with a couple of windows open.
Right.
Yes, and we take a lot of gear on these trips. You know, you got the air fryer, the little Weber barbecue,
Coffee machine.
yeah, all this stuff that the smoker
Yep.
that we're sort of stuffing into the footwell and on the floor all throughout the van. And so there was a few windows up in the bedroom, the main bed area, all the way up the end. So Anya had to like crawl over the top of everything and
To get in there.
secure
May have
those
reminded
windows.
someone, but I can't remember who that person was.
Must have been Oliver.
Yeah, it must
Surely
have
it was Oliver. Right.
Oliver was at school on this trip, so it's not his fault.
Well, one of the worst stories I've had was, it wasn't an MDC trailer. It was a trailer that I've had as well, though, a camper trailer. And I noticed that I pulled it out, hadn't used it for a couple of weeks, but by this stage the trailer had done about probably 20,000 Ks. I think we'd been to Tassie and back. And I noticed that there was a bit of tyre wear on one side of the tyre more, so I had a bit of a look and I could see that it was sort of out of alignment. I could actually see it myself, and I thought it's a long way out. And when I got under to have a look at the cam bolts, they were literally finger tight and were just on the last couple of threads on the inside of the trailing arm mount. So the nut was away from the visual line of sight. You couldn't see it. Could hardly tell that the wheel was out of alignment without seeing the wear on the tyre. And I was about to pull it out and go and drive. I don't know where it was. It was going to be at least 5 hours away. Might have been going to Adelaide.
Let's call it out because I know you don't have this trailer anymore, but that was a Black Series. Is that correct?
Correct.
Just guessing.
Correct.
They were renowned for the same sort of thing.
Yeah, correct. So, yeah, luckily, just that pre-trip inspection, picked that up. Otherwise, you're towing a chassis down the road. That's not much
Wow.
fun.
No, it
Exciting
wouldn't be.
times. So, I guess, are these things that normal people should be able to do, in your opinion?
so
Do
you're-
people have or should they have the awareness to look out for these things, or should they look for a service agent or take it to a mechanic for these inspections?
So the general over the van with the greasing and the D35 hitch is something everyone can do at home.
Yep.
So on every tour I ever do, it's one of the first activities we do at night time. And it just gives the people the confidence that they can do it themselves. There's plenty of stuff that Steve's got in his masterclass that shows you how to do that, or you can go to the actual manufacturer and Google that, and they'll show you how to do the D35 hitch.
Yep.
But very important that you can do that.
And what's required as part of that?
So the D35,
No, just
so-
essentially a grease gun and a tube of grease, right?
a grease gun with grease in it.
Yep.
And then for the hitch, you just need this type of silicone spray, which is called a dry lube.
Yep.
And it just that way, then you can lubricate those components, and that takes care of the running gear underneath. And then the visual check where you jack it up, do your wheels.
So I guess, yeah, those types of things are, in my opinion, I think I agree, are elements that every van owner should have the basic fundamentals and understand the benefit of why. And it's not just for off-grid travel, that's for on-road travellers too. Like, you need to keep the vans greased up at all times. Just off-road vans will require more attention and more frequent maintenance in that respect.
So, mate, at the muster classes that we saw you do in Warhope, that dry lube was a particular material?
Yes, so it's a PTFE. So it's a dry lube, so it doesn't attract dust. So when you spray that on there, it's only a small part. You let it dry off, and then it'll not attract dust. So then it's very small tolerances between those plates. So it's just something that I would probably do for me, for the mileage I do, I'm doing it every month. But for the person that's average Joe Blow, you just do it every 3 months. Just give it a hose out, clean it out, give it a wipe, push the plate back and forward, because when you push it back, you'll see this big grind mark that's going
stuff coming
around. Push it back the other way, you'll see the same through the pin. wipe it over, push it back, then you just spray.
Sure.
That there will just make that hitch then so it always disengages properly. By grease nippling at the back, it will spin properly, turn around and do all the things it's supposed to do. Especially if you're doing like beach driving, that's something I'd say you do before, and then as soon as you get back, I would be doing it again.
Yeah, absolutely. So then some of that maintenance and pre-trip planning, getting your, not just the van, but also looking at the vehicle. If you take those to a mechanic, a lot of people will get their vehicle taken to a mechanic. Do you think there are specific things you should be asking for as part of that pre-trip inspection or pre-trip service before you hit the road?
So with your vehicle, you just want to make sure that when was the last time your belts and filter were changed?
Mm-hmm.
If they hadn't been changed in a while, I would just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then ask them to keep those belts for you, because that way then that's your little backup. So rather than you invest money and going buying belts that you might have sitting in a box for ages, you're just reusing what you already got. Then you got the benefit of, I know that's right now, and now I have a backup. Now you might not have the skill to be able to go fit an alternator belt or an air conditioning belt, but I'm telling you, every place I've ever been to, there's people in the caravan life. When you're out on the road, at events, caravan parks, there's always someone there that'll jump in and help you do it for you.
Yep.
Feed them a beer.
Yep. Absolutely.
And you're right.
I think a good point there, something I've read too, is if you go and buy spare parts for a remote trip, put the new parts in and keep the old
Yes.
parts as the spares.
Yep.
Don't wait for something to become a problem out on the road. Do it before
Yes.
you go. Put the new ones in, just do it, and keep the old ones as spares.
That's a great tip, because then you're not actually, if you just go buy a new set of everything, what happens if you buy something that's the wrong belt?
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
No.
You just miss it or
Yeah.
realise it's the wrong length or the wrong year model. It
Yeah.
could be something as simple as like that for your car. Who knows? Yeah, well, that's interesting. So, what's the one maintenance tip that you would give to somebody who is thinking about, if everybody had to have the one tip and all follow it, what would it be?
The one tip.
If there was one golden tip.
Right.
For me, it would be to be prepared and expect the unexpected.
Right.
And I think with that, it means that you become familiar with greasing the components in the van
Yep.
that you need to do. And it's having some of the spare parts that you know, well, not necessarily know are likely to fail, but if they're high-use parts, that you have them on hand to be able to fix it. Be
Yep.
prepared, I guess, would be my summary there.
Yeah. Mine is like, I carry a bit of everything, and I don't just carry for myself. So fuses, that's an easy one to carry with you, because you can do, with phones, you leave the charger out and the lead touches down, earths out, it blows your charging point in your fuse box on your car. So I carry all those sort of things. But just that prep, and allow for your destination as the end, what you need to carry with you. So for those far out west trips, you'd be doing belts, filters, fuel filter. You'd carry wire connectors. You carry the equipment that would be able to do that. For doing things like if you have problems with your wheel bearings, that carrying the bearings with you, but doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put them in. So
Correct.
you can find someone out there in the service station that will be able to do it for you. But by having the part, you're not delayed.
Correct.
Because most times when people are out, they've got a timetable, dates of where they're heading, and nothing worse than you're only a day away from getting to the Winton dinosaur experience, and you've done a bearing,
Yeah.
and then
you're
you've got to
stuck.
wait to go get it, and you're stuck. By having that bearing there, someone will come along.
Yep.
Or
Or the mechanic can do it as long as he's got the part to be able to do
correct,
it.
and then you're there. So just having that available is the best thing I can say to you.
I've
Yeah.
got two things. One before you go and one while you're on a trip. First one, make sure you've got a jack
Mm-hmm.
and you've got the tools to actually get to your spare wheel, and that your spare wheel's in reasonable condition. There's a lot of vehicles that have an underslung spare that's in a place that could, for all you know, it could have a big hole in it if you don't check it right.
Yeah, they're vulnerable under the body of the car.
And sometimes there's special tools you got to bring in from the back and wind them down to
A
actually
little locking device.
get access to them. While you're on a trip, refuel at every opportunity. Like you were saying, Sam, when you got to Tilpa, there was no fuel, and if you didn't have Jerry's, you would have been stuck there. So fill up while you can, because you never know what the fuel situation is going to be like in the next town.
Yeah, that's right.
Or what that next day. So for me, I always fill up when you fill up. but I'm at 1100k range. So I'm filling up after only doing 300, but it might mean that the next day I can go.
Twice as far. You can
Yeah.
go on a rescue mission.
No, yeah.
You can go get
30
me.
litres per 100 burns.
You can go to the next town, 400 kilometres, and bring me back some petrol.
And I've had that. I've done that before too.
That's what we always plan that.
There's the exciting stuff. What's been the worst mechanical experience you've had out on the road, out in the bush? And what did you have to do to fix it?
So 2006, we were travelling from Normanton back across to Cairns. All of a sudden there was a fire under the bonnet. And what it was the air conditioning belt had come off and it had grabbed the alternator belt. And then it had jammed in, but because the alternator was still spinning, the friction. And then just from the heat, that day would have been 42 degrees, so the bitumen was actually boiling through the ground. So the vehicle was there, we got the fire out, got 2 young kids with me. We're in the middle of nowhere. I've got to pull this out and do it all here. So did have the tools, did have the belts that I could do it, but it was a matter about how can I do it safely, because the car was hot. So we ended up putting down mats and blankets and just the uncomfortableness from doing that. But we got it done and got to travel. And then another year, I was heading somewhere, it was down south, and it was a different van I had. It was probably my first van I had, and I was probably around 24, and the wheel come flying past me on the left. I looked over and went, oh. And I went, oh. And believe it or not, the van still sat there for a couple of minutes. Not a couple of minutes, but seconds. And then I looked back and then and the sparks were flying everywhere. I didn't panic. I just went around and then, in the vans and even on the NBC vans there, you can take the back wheel off. You got the 3 studs there. That's what I ended up doing. And I bashed those studs out.
You'd broken the studs on the van itself.
Yes.
And you then
And there was
harvested
none
the
left.
studs from the spare wheel. That's what you're saying?
So I took, it wasn't an NBC van.
Yeah, just to be clear, like you said, when you were 20, that's like 30 years ago. We weren't even around then.
So I took 2 studs off the back and on the other side, just to make it so I was safe, because we had over 260-something Ks to travel that day still. So on the other wheel, I ended up being patient, took that wheel off, and I knocked out 2 studs out of there, and then I put them into the left-hand side to get us going.
So even the load. Yep.
Yeah, and just making sure that had enough studs, that had enough studs to get the 260k. We just dropped the speed down. It did take us over an hour to find the tyre.
Really? You just rolled off?
I rolled off and went into the bushes and down through some stuff, and we'd gone actually past it, and we'd kept walking, but it was back there. It actually hit something and bounced the other way, so we thought it was still that way. So that was probably my hardest.
Oh, wow. What about you, Vaughan or Anya? Experienced any real fun ones?
Well, you looked at me kind of weird, so I don't know what you're thinking.
I haven't talked about this one before, but I've actually rolled 4 trailers at once.
Really? Were you
Yes.
driving a truck at the time, were you?
I was driving a Hilux. We had a car trailer. It was 2012. We were going to the Bundaberg show. Back then, we hadn't built a caravan. We only had soft floors
Right.
and some hard floors, right? So I had a car trailer behind a white Hilux with a soft floor pointing forwards, one pointing backwards, one upside down on top of this car trailer.
Wow.
And comes back to wheel nuts. Everything comes back to wheel nuts. People ask why we're so passionate about wheel nuts. On the back of this Hilux that we were towing with, the back left wheel had a flat, had been changed the day before by the tyre shop across the road from our Coopers Plains factory. All 6 wheel studs just snapped while I'm on the gateway travelling to Bundaberg, doing 100 kilometres per hour. The back left wheels come off. The car's gone down. The car's gone this way. I've lost all steering. I'm in the right-hand lane going down the gateway at 100, coming into the centre ditch, coming up to a light post that we actually hit. When I actually hit it, I actually leaned this way so it felt to me that I wouldn't hit the pole, but I had no steering. And so flipped the vehicle, rolled the 4 trailers, closed down the whole gateway.
Wow.
Jesus.
Only reason I survived is this truck was bought secondhand. It was a mining truck, and it's had a rollover cab. And right above my head, there's a big thick pipe that goes around. You know what the rollover cabs look like from the mines. Actually pushed that in. It was that far off the roof of the actual vehicle.
Wow.
It was a pretty scary experience. Had to go to hospital because it's a rollover. They had to do all the checks and keep me there half the night.
So you wouldn't be bush mechanicking your way out of that, would you?
Oh, no, that was a total loss on everything.
That's a total loss, yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important when you come into town in a convoy and you say, boys, check your nuts.
Yes, correct.
Correct. Yeah, well, that's, look, lesson learned, right? So I guess that's, look, they're challenges and pretty scary stories in both respects. What I've seen personally is guys that have lost front wheels that bring out these Chinese utes up around the Cape. And we were travelling with a bloke once, and he lost his whole front wheel. Whole thing just came off, and he literally found a big stick and just strapped up the stick to the front axle and just drove the thing like a sled into what's it called, just before the Archer River? Well, essentially the Archer River Roadhouse. So yeah, he managed to drive it in there on the dirt. And
I have seen someone do the similar with a Max Track underneath the back left-hand side.
Yeah,
and
as a sled.
And then they've engaged full drive and just gold dragged it.
Yeah, wow.
Sorry, I'm not sure if you want to put this in, but when we were on the Alice Springs trip towards Tobermory Station, and the car that was travelling with us broke down. So we had the patrol nearly on empty, and then we had to tow the Ranger behind us.
Which had a 17-foot caravan behind that.
So we were like...
road train. You're a road train.
Yeah,
I got video footage of
so
that.
the recovery points on the back of the van
Ended up as the tow points for the Ranger, which was also towing a van.
Yeah.
So probably not a proper thing to do. So we'll go to legal on that one and see if we're allowed to talk about it. But
I got you out of trouble.
yeah, sometimes we had to travel about 50 or 60 kilometres. We can't leave the guy out there in the middle of a very remote road.
No.
He was in the middle of Australia. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I know. Look, what's the... have you ever had to fix something, Banks? This is a good one that's ended up being a permanent fix.
Yeah, heaps of times.
Yeah?
When COVID times were on, a friend of ours with their parents, we travelled up to Mataranka and we're coming back across to King Ash Bay. He'd already had some brake problems with his trailer, different brand. And the way they mount it was this massive big connector on the side of the drum, and that connector, with the weight of it, just bounced away, and the little metal fold tab that was held in place had snapped. It had come loose and disengaged all their brakes, and then it had shorted out. So we used a home power cord, cut the ends off, and I actually rewired from the front to the back using that, and just using big connectors onto the drum to fix that. So that lasted another 6,000 K to get home, and then we were out at my birthday probably 3 months later, and the same fix was in. And then just recently on a trip, I did a fix on a battery on a Y62.
I knew this was coming.
And I think it stayed like that for a month or so. And it was a good patch, right? Like the idea of it was it had three lots of positives and a feed in through the back. The fuses had blown on that. I just joined 2 lots of wire that were not the right grade, but I joined them together and made them 6mm core, and then we bridged across, and that made the alternator charge the battery, and that fix lasted from all the way up the Cape, all the way back to Brisbane, and then probably another 2 months.
Mark MacGyver Banks.
I was privileged to be part of that event.
That's why I like Banksy being
You supplied the vehicle.
I supplied the patrol. And the funny thing is, right, I carry a lot of gear, and so just through that little fix, I've gone and actually bought the components, so the little ring terminals that Mark used to fix that. Again. I didn't have that as part of my kit. Now it's in my kit.
Yeah. I've done a lot of research in that space. I don't want to be caught out, right? I'm a scout from way back. Be prepared. Like, I've got those ring terminals. I've got a fuse box full of all different spare fuses, connectors, all those types of things that I've used in the past, and I've had to use for myself. But they've ended up being proper fixes on the track because it's how.
And like, I don't carry every gauge of wire.
No.
But I had 2 lots of 3mm that I just stripped and then wrapped and made it 6mm, and then just shrink wrapped.
We definitely don't recommend it.
Yeah. But heat shrink and tape
Yep.
to make it a 6 mil
'Cause
cord with 2 lugs.
The patrols have like a big 4-fuse thing that cost a
On the
couple
back.
$100 off the back of the battery. You can't get them out in the middle of Australia.
No.
So it just had to be a fix. And of course, now I have a couple of spares as well. So if that happens again, we can just change the whole thing out.
So one of the cameramen, when they were coming back from Kakadu, lost the dust cap. And we've talked about the dust cap and the purpose of it in another video, where what its purpose is and why it lives there. Do you just want to talk about the dust cap and how one of these amazing little, what are they called?
Enamel coffee cup.
Enamel
NBC
coffee
mug?
cups, yeah. How they could actually be versatile in terms of a bush fix.
Yep. So the dust caps on the MDC vans are about a 92 mil, I think it is, which is not a standard size that anywhere up that way would carry. Luckily now they come standard in the vans in your kit that you first
And they're
get.
actually available on the online parts store too.
Yes, $15.
There you go.
So cheap as.
Cheap
I
as. Keep 'em
carry.
in your
I
kit.
keep in the kit.
Or you could maybe keep one of these.
Yes. So Daniel come up with this idea. I've never used the cup before, but I've used a 1.25 litre bottle of Coke, snap that and tape it on.
Okay.
But Daniel got the lip off and we bent this around and got it flat and then gave it a bit of manual work. And then we used that then to go over the hub itself. And then by slight tapping, a little bit more adjustment on the edges.
A press fit.
Press fit. So we made it so that it fitted like a glove.
Perfect.
And that lasted Kakadu back to Brisbane. So you got dirt tracks all through there, roads, bumps.
However many thousand Ks
It's
that
probably
is.
still there.
And it keeps that dust and water and all that sort of stuff getting into your bearing.
Yeah.
So that continue that trip.
And over 5,000 Ks back from Kakadu back to Brisbane, I'm sure,
It's a
whatever it
great
is,
fix.
that's worth doing, right? That's
Yeah.
not something I'll wait till I get home. That's probably an essential part.
Oh.
There's that much off-road travel to get there.
Just him going over Carl's Crossing, putting
Yeah.
water in it would
would be enough to
be wreck it.
I've got a question. Did you paint it black so it was aesthetically pleasing?
God, no.
It wasn't me, but no, they didn't.
It was just a PR branding exercise. So we made sure it was white, orange,
was
and
the
blue.
idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Awesome.
it could have been that the cap had come off from it having a service, and this happens at servicing. You get some places, they take the tyre off. When they put the other cover back over the protective cover, they don't use thread lock to hold those two
little Allen key nuts on.
Allen keys or screws in
Yep,
there.
screws.
That makes that cap come off.
Yep.
They've probably done some sort of water crossing or something that snagged it on the dirt, and then that then
It's just
grabs
enough
that,
to leverage it.
pulls it off.
They are, yeah. They're it's important to know that they are held on by two little, I think they're 3mm Allen key bolts.
Yes.
I think they're 3mm, so always carry a 3mm Allen key. So, Anya, in terms of advice or hot tips that you would give to people, what would be one hot tip you would give somebody, an MDC owner that's going out travelling?
So I guess on our trips, I drive and tow many different vans. So I will always download and read the manual.
Look at this superstar.
Because I'll often say to Vaughan, have you read the manual? No. So that's my job. It's such a, I mean, it's stereotypical. It's a female thing. I don't know. I just like reading from the first page right through to the last to understand how something works. And then you have an idea of, something if goes wrong or doesn't work properly on what to do.
I guess the step-by-step guide, it could be the hot water system. Why isn't the hot water system working? Whatever. Could be because you haven't plugged the gas in yet. Or something
I'm just
like
lucky because I have Steve Zammit on speed dial. So if I've got a problem, it's like, get on the phone. Steve, what's going on with
that. He
this?
can't have 40,000 people ringing him
No.
every Saturday because they can't work out how to raise the roof on their XL15E.
But with the roof, when we're at the MDC muster in New South Wales, I come across a lady there that they just turned up. They've been travelling for 4 hours, 5 hours that day. So, frustrations kept in. It was 39 degrees. So road hot, travelling in was hot. Couldn't get their roof up. So it was great to see. She ripped the manual out and instead of download it to a phone or tablet, she actually had it printed. I think Officeworks had done it into a little binded folder for her. We're going through, get to the page, and then she starts reading it and she goes, oh, damn. The part that I'm supposed to have, I haven't packed with me.
Oh,
Is that like a little electrical reset module?
So it's a little
thing?
reset module. It plugs into the back of the unit. She could then do it manually through there, or there's a reset button on there. But even from that, just in conversation around the fire that night, I was talking to Chris from Newcastle branch, and I said, Chris, surely there's got to be something else. And then he goes, Mark, you can get the remote and you can hold the two buttons down and just hold it for more than 3 seconds, and that'll reset the roof. And
There you
lo and
go.
behold, so even for myself, learn something new.
We're still learning new work.
Oh, and I was like, oh, good, I'm going to bank that because that has come across before on one of my trips.
What's also good to note is in the last probably 8 months, 6 months maybe, all the product coming through now have QR codes inside the door near the instruction panels and the safety panels with a QR code to download the manual for that particular model. So you can just scan it, download it, just do it while you do it at the service station before you.
And we have to give credit where credit's due. It was actually Mark's idea. So I think we were on a trip somewhere and he goes, hey, mate, come have a look at this. This is great. If I need to do anything with this particular component, the company's put a QR code in here and I can get all the information off that.
Yep.
And that's where it actually comes
Yeah,
from.
great.
And I've seen it now where I get my car service at times. They do the same, so I can actually scan on that and it brings up what they did.
That's been
So when I'm there, I go, oh yeah, got that done. Oh, so they have checked that. So
It's obviously been really valuable. We looked at some numbers the other day. We've had across both the on-road and off-road range, I think we've had nearly 1,100 downloads of the instruction manuals across all models, across all vans. Which is
and I
amazing.
see from MDC Musters now, the parts division is getting swamped.
Yeah, with
for
spare parts
spare
inquiries.
parts.
And
But
it's just about being prepared. It's
For
not-
me, for me, it's now I know that when we go to those big trips, those people have those parts. So rather than me supplying
you don't
them,
have to carry a shed full.
yeah.
Well, look, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from having a breakdown in the middle of nowhere? Or, experience. Vaughan, what about yourself?
I think knowing where to get help. So one thing that we're going to do in the middle of next year is we're going to do a trip probably through the Simpson Desert. And there, the Birdsville Hotel has a little program. They have a recovery vehicle that you can subscribe to. And if you happen to have a breakdown in the middle of the desert, instead of it costing 20 grand to get a recovery, I think it's like an insurance policy might be like $500.
Correct.
We could put this up on the podcast. I just think having adequate insurance and having contingency plans, I think, we're going to subscribe all our vehicles to that insurance policy for that particular trip.
Yep.
Fraser now does the same thing from Rainbow Beach. So
Yeah,
you do the pre thing, and it's well worth it because getting a car and a van down from up Orca Beach way back to Rainbow Beach could be very, very expensive.
Absolutely. Banksy, tell us about, I guess, a lesson you might have learnt from that wheel coming off that you were telling us about earlier out on the hot road in the middle of nowhere. Was there a lesson you kind of learnt from that or any real take-homes?
So don't panic at first, right? There's always a way to do something, or there's always someone that will pop past. It's just a matter of don't get flustered. Sit there, reflect on what the issue is. Take your time, and then go, okay, now I've got a plan, and start on that plan. And hopefully, someone will come along. They might offer to take the kids down the road with the wife and get them fed, so that makes less pressure on you. And then you just work your way through that particular issue you have and get yourself back on the road.
Yeah, I think that's important. And look, we'd still obviously reiterate, always stay with your vehicle if you can. Somebody stay with the vehicle, especially if it's 40 degrees out there and you're in the middle of nowhere. Walking anywhere, you're not gonna do too well. You're always going to have better shelter at the vehicle. You're going to have supplies. You're going to have water. You're going to have all that type of stuff.
Cover.
You are, and cover, and never underestimate that. You're better off waiting. You're a bigger visual sight in a vehicle than a single person on the side of the road. So that'd be my advice off the back of that as well. So we've talked about some of the lessons that we've learned. Are there specific things that you think you should ask your mechanic, or you should really check over the vehicle before you head off?
Yeah, I think like the mechanic's the expert, right? And so it's not about asking him to look for things, but explain to your mechanic where you're going to be going, what you're going to be doing. And so off the back of that, they should have the experience to know what sort of pre-trip servicing you need or any spare parts you should take, I think.
I don't think it's even the servicing part. It's also the inspection. I had a friend when we did the Simpson Desert. He took his to a mechanic, and the mechanic came out and said, hey, there's 4 wires or pieces of under the engine bay that actually look quite vulnerable here, and this was a bit loose, so I've tightened this up, I've rerouted this, and I've put this wire over there, so it's going to change a bit of the layout, but it's going to stop that thing rubbing on that, or it's going to stop this happening here, and just fatigue and rattling and vibrations over 5,000-6,000 k's. So
Yeah, definitely tell them your final destination and how far you're going for, because even on this trip to the Cape, I did diff oils and that, but I'd only had serviced a while ago my transmission and that, and they actually said, no, because of the distance you're doing and water, let's just do that at the same time. So now my underneath is all the same. So now I know that that's been done, that's been done, that's been done, that's done. So if he hadn't told me that, I would have skipped it.
yeah, sure. Great. So then, has being self-reliant or learning to become self-reliant changed the way you travel? Maybe for you, Anya.
I'm always happy to butter my eyelids and ask for help.
Yeah, that's all right.
Works.
Excuse me.
Do you think it's opened up doors to where you could go?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even the musters that we've been on with the classes, just the little, tips and tricks that Banksy and Steve have said. Like I'm saying to Vaughan, we've got to go order this. We've got to go buy this. So the more knowledge that I'm learning around these guys is, next level.
It's building your confidence.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be like a Christie driving around Australia for 12 months, but at least I'll have an idea of what to do or what to look out for sure.
We've got a really good podcast on that, actually. Chris Bishop, solo traveller, had her van XL15E, I think, for 2 years now, has done something like 100,000 kilometres.
Yeah.
So for listeners at home, check that
Very
podcast out.
inspiring.
Very exciting, very interesting. Banksy, from your point of view?
Just as long as you're prepared and just think of where you're going as the end result, you can do amazing things in these vans.
Yeah.
And then it just reassures you. And if you travel in a pair, that's even better, because then you've got someone there that can always do what Vaughan said. They can go off and get fuel, come back to you. All that prep stuff will get you out of trouble and out on the road more.
Yeah, I think knowledge is power. And if you feel like you can service, maintain the van or the vehicle yourself to some extent, or have the parts with you, gives you the confidence to go and do anything and go down that little road that looks interesting, or check it out and see how you go.
But even for me, parts sometimes is not for me. It's for
correct.
the people I come across.
Yeah, it's to have it there if you need it.
Yeah. And like we did that on this trip. We left bushes at a pub. I've left Anderson plugs at pubs before, because the pub only had the red ones where they needed the grey ones, and the customer come through and picked it up, and off they go.
Perfect. Vaughan, anything from your point of view?
I think just travel with in numbers.
Yep.
We had a gentleman at the muster that sort of took off on his own, actually rolled his ankle the previous afternoon, and didn't get found till the next morning by a lady who happens to be a nurse. And we had to actually go pack his vehicle and his caravan up for him so he could leave. If that had happened around the main group, he would have got attention a lot quicker. So I don't believe of being a loner and going off on my own. It's always travelling with someone else, but preferably someone else with a vehicle is better.
And Banksy.
Oh, Banksy. I'll go anywhere with Banksy.
A mechanic with a full support vehicle, and a coffee machine.
Yeah,
right?
Full confidence. And cooks mean food too. Amazing.
The
Jeez,
best
we get
eggs.
fed well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Coffee now too.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Anya, what advice would you give a first-time traveller looking to sort of head out into remote Australia?
Into remote, I guess asking questions, pack what you think you need, and just have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
Ask questions, build your knowledge.
Yeah, for sure.
Banksy?
Get onto the MDC Oz RV owners group. Search up there. You always find someone that will want to travel with you.
Yeah.
We give you tips and trips. Could tell you a little spot that you didn't know. And it just makes that so much more enjoyable.
I think it's worth saying, if there's anybody in southeast Queensland or northern Victoria, if they want to do a little tag along, there's not an MDC Oz RV owners group going on. Banksy runs Beach2Bush Adventures, which are tag along tours. And MDC owners get discounts, I understand.
They do.
There you go. Perfect.
We've also got the solo travel Facebook chat group that Steve and Link run. So that's the ladies are in there. So any questions that they've got, they can pop in there, and Steve and Link are generally on there pretty quickly, and they get help straight away.
Fantastic. Vaughan, any advice you'd give to my first-time travellers looking to head out?
Yes, buy a Starlink. So you are contactable at all times, but also you can contact anyone should you get into trouble. Yeah.
You should have said buy an MDC. Or was that a given?
I just assumed they'd already bought an MDC. What do you need to go with it?
No, that's right. Well, Starlink, clearly to go with it. Yeah, perfect. No, look, I think there's some really good advice in there. And look, my advice would be just to educate yourself, learn as much as you can, but don't be overwhelmed by it. Be smart, let people know where you're going, take phones, and fill up fuel when you can, and just take it easy. Don't need to go hard, don't need to go fast, and enjoy it. And as Banksy said, if you get into trouble, don't panic. You're far less remote than you actually think you are.
Yeah.
Be nice to the gear.
Yeah.
Okay, so
mechanically sympathetic.
Yeah, you might go buy an off-road caravan. It doesn't mean you have to do donuts and throw it off the edge of mountains and do
And be
crazy
nice to
stuff.
We're not all
people.
Shane Stoffer from ROA, are we?
Yeah, don't do what he does. That's a big tip.
And it's okay to winch
Yes.
if you get stuck. 'Cause
Absolutely.
You sometimes
Just
you get
don't
it to
break
where you need
things.
it to be, then you get yourself winched out. That way then you don't break nothing.
Absolutely. Don't
That's
need to be a
one
hero.
thing, to always make sure you know where the remote is for the winch before you take off.
And test your winch before you
Yes.
you think you're going to need it.
That's right.
We have been stuck somewhere without knowing where the remote is.
We've reprogrammed some winches whilst on trips, haven't we, camera guy? Yes, we have.
Fun times. But as long as we test it before we go, right? And we know that
Yes.
it's working. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, look, we're going to finish it up there. So thank you very much for joining us. Thanks, Vaughan. Thanks, Anya.
Thank you.
Mark Banks.
Thanks,
Banksy.
Sam.
It's been great having you guys on. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. And if you do like what you're watching, please please subscribe. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on YouTube. So please join, follow the adventure, and escape with confidence. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
See you later.